Michelle Minton is on the line with us. Michelle is a fellow at the Consumer Policy Studies at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. CEI.org is the website for that conservative think tank. And the author of Bad Science, the CDC Forced to Reverse Its Recommendation on Salt. Michelle, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on, Tom.
Tell us about the situation here.
Well, first of all, I'd say CEI isn't a conservative organization. We're nonpartisan. But
but you always seem to take the side of big corporations against
that's a discussion,
people.
I guess, for another time.
Okay.
So the salt situation is that the CDC asked the Institute of Medicine they commissioned them to do a report looking at recent studies that have come out on sodium, salt, blood pressure, heart disease, just to see, because there's a lot of controversy. It's been going back and forth for many, many decades on whether or not sodium is related to blood pressure and if it should be reduced, if the recommendations that everybody tells us to reduce sodium have as big an impact as they want. And what the Institutes of Medicine found is that the impact of sodium in the diet isn't as great as they thought, and there's no justification for recommending some of the strict restrictions on sodium that the CDC, the FDA, and others have been recommending for many years.
Right. So the CDC changed their standards, did they not?
Exactly, yes. They're no longer recommending that people try and reduce sodium below 2,300 milligrams, which is what they've been telling.
Right.
The old wisdom was that 1,500 was ideal, and the average American eats 3,400 milligrams.
And so now they're saying 1,500 might even be bad for some people.
They're saying
so what's wrong with a government agency that is supposed to be, continuously looking into the current state of the art of science, looking into the current state of the art of science on salt and deciding that what we had thought was true wasn't true, and here's a new truth, and sharing it with the American people? What's wrong with that?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with think tanks or even a government agency looking into this stuff. The problem that I have with it, and that people who are libertarian who think like me have with this, is that the recommendations don't just stop, or it doesn't just stop with the investigation. What we have now is, and still to this day, the USDA is still trying to get school lunches to have reduced sodium to meet these standards that were set by the CDC.
The old standards.
FDA, exactly.
Okay.
The FDA is trying to get, working with those big corporations you were talking about to, quote, voluntarily get them to reduce sodium in their products. And the FTC and the FDA USA altogether are trying to get marketing standards so that food companies won't market food unless it meets their very specific nutritional standards, one of those being salt content.
But the fact of the matter is, and I speak from some experience on this, my father had high blood pressure, my grandmother had wildly high blood pressure, my father, it was a major problem for him, a couple of heart attacks, several strokes, and I have high blood pressure. And for a couple of years, I was taking diuretics, things that control your blood pressure. And then I just, I've been a vegetarian for most of my life, but I just decided I'm going to take the salt out of my diet. I stopped eating because I was eating out a lot, and because of the style of my life. I mean, just traveling and constantly doing that, whatever. And I just started taking all the salt out of my diet, and my blood pressure went back to normal. And, I think that the point that they're making is that while your average American may be consuming, 3 grams of sodium a day, and they're saying 2 grams is okay, and or 2.5, and they used to say 2 grams is, or a little less than 2 grams is ideal. The fact of the matter is that there are a lot of people, and I know my dad was one of them, he was an absolute cheese junkie and salt junkie, who are probably consuming 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 grams of sodium a day, of salt a day, and various other sodiums. And that's actually bad for them. It does cause high blood pressure and strokes. And so we really should be informed about these things, and we really should have a government agency telling us these things and urging industry to at least disclose their sodium content.
Well, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence for that high salt may cause blood pressure rises, et cetera, or that it has no effect whatsoever.
Well, it depends on how you define high.
Well, right. And the thing is, when you look at these studies, when people are looking at this and the anecdotal evidence, is that there's hundreds at the very least, there's millions of other things going on in that person's diet and that person's life that are contributing to their high blood pressure, whether we're talking about genetics or the fact that they eat a lot of fruit or the fact that they don't eat any fruit at all. But what we have seen in clinical studies with people eating salt is when two groups were given instructions to reduce their salt content, and one was given a salt pill, the other given a placebo, they found that people naturally consume at a certain equilibrium salt. They will unconsciously choose specific foods to get the amount of salt that they want in their body.
Right.
So even if the government is trying to reduce, they're talking to these food companies and saying, you reduce salt in your chips, or you reduce salt in your muffins, whatever it is, people are still going to unconsciously choose foods to get.
Well, I don't know of any government programs to reduce salt. There is a government requirement that sodium be labeled, and I appreciate that. And I think most consumers appreciate that. We would like to know what's in our food. And I know the food industry and you guys are very opposed to that. They don't want us to know what, if we have genetically modified organisms or what, and I don't get that. I don't understand why, libertarians who talk about a free marketplace and the power of free choice would not get that in order to operate in a marketplace and operate out of a place of choice, consumers have to have information.
Now, I'm really a very strong advocate of the free marketplace for ideas. I think it's really important that we have this.
I'm not talking about ideas. I'm talking about the amount of salt in my food.
Well, what I'm talking about is freedom of choice.
No, this article is about salt in your food. Are you saying that you're in favor of freedom of choice for corporations to decide whether or not to label their product? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that you're in favor of the freedom of choice of me to decide to buy this product or that product based on what I know is in it?
I'm saying that people should have the choice, whether they're part of a company or a consumer, to decide what they put in their products and what they put in their bodies. Every person's different, and every person's physiology isn't going to react the same way. Which
sounds nice, but really, is it not true that what you're saying is you're in favor?
Talk with their doctor. If you're going to have me on your show and you want me to talk, why don't you allow me to speak?
Sure. Well, are you in favor of the freedom of choice of corporations to label the amount of sodium in their foods?
Absolutely. I think if a company wants to do that, they should have every right to do that. I think, and
if they choose not to,
for beer companies to have the voluntary right to label their beer and
alcohol content.
Yes, not just alcohol content, but nutritional content, because they weren't allowed to. I think every company should be able to, as long as it's accurate information, label their products how they want, as long as it's not misinformation.
But wait a second. You say every company should be free to label them, but what you're really saying is every company should be free to not label them as well. Is that not true?
Sure. If somebody is of that kind of mind, if they want to drink a product that has no label on it, where they have no idea what's in it, I think that should be...
They deserve what they get.
Do that. I think it should be their choice to do it, and they should, buyer beware. They should, think of the consequences before doing that.
Well, if we lived in an economy where everything was produced within 100 miles of where I live, and everybody that I interacted with shared that collaborative knowledge, I would not actually disagree with your argument. Because there would be a broad database of knowledge. I used to live in a little town of 7,000 people, Montpelier, Vermont. We had an ophthalmologist in town who was screwing people's eyes up really badly. Word traveled. He lost business. He ended up having to go someplace else. That's that marketplace that you're talking about. But we live in a country of over 300 million people. If something's killing somebody in Pittsburgh and I live in Washington, D.C., and I don't know about it, and that company decides, well, we can't market in Pittsburgh anymore, let's go to D.C., and it takes 300-400 people dead before people discover that this unlabeled product is actually bad for them, that doesn't seem to me like a free market working.
I think we actually have a better situation today than we had in that small town you're talking about, because now we have the Internet, we have Yelp, we have places where people can do product reviews or complain to the FDA. Now, that's one of the more appropriate things.
So before I eat any product, I should before I go, when I'm walking through the supermarket, I should take a tablet with me and search every product on the Internet and hope that I'm getting the correct information because the manufacturer has the choice not to provide it to me?
Or maybe just those ones that aren't labeled.
Right. Okay. Michelle Minton is with the Competitive Enterprise Institute. CEI.org is the website. Her article, you can read it there, is Bad Science. CDC forced to reverse its recommendations on salt. Michelle, thanks for dropping by today.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we have illuminated the issue.